Imagine a time when people drank booze for breakfast, danced until they dropped dead, and thought kissing a cat's butt could summon the devil. Welcome to the Middle Ages. But what if I told you the real story is even darker? Today, we uncover 31 secrets hidden for centuries, secrets so shocking, they'll change how you see history forever. Torture devices that will haunt your nightmares. Let's start with the most twisted invention of all, the Judas cradle. Picture a sharp wooden spike shaped like a pyramid. Victims were forced to sit here. Gravity did the rest. And if that wasn't enough, torturers added weights to their feet. The Spanish donkey? Same idea, but you straddled a razor-sharp wedge. These weren't just punishments. They were shows of power and cruelty. But not everyone bowed to fear. Meet Nicola de la Haye, a badass woman who defended a castle twice as a widow. While men fought, she outsmarted sieges. Bravery? Medieval folks had it, but so did their torturers. The Judas cradle and the Spanish donkey were two medieval torture devices that employed gravity and simple mechanics to inflict prolonged agony, often for interrogation or punishment. Here's a structured breakdown. Number 1. Judas cradle, Judas chair. Design: a pyramid-shaped wooden or metal spike mounted on a base. Mechanism: victims were lowered onto the spike, often naked, with their anus or vagina positioned over the tip. Gravity forced penetration, causing tearing and severe internal injuries. Effects: the concentrated weight led to tissue rupture, hemorrhaging, and risk of fatal infection. Victims might survive initially but die later from complications. Context: likely Italian in origin, used during interrogations to extract confessions. The humiliation of sexualized torture amplified psychological trauma. Number 2. Medieval medicine, slug soup and burning bodies. Now, imagine you're poisoned. What's the cure? Slug soup. In the 1300s, a doctor saw slugs eating poison leaves, so he boiled them. And it worked. But not all cures were smart. Women like Francesca Romana burned their own bodies with hot fat to avoid sinful pleasure. Why? Because enjoying love was a crime. Even kings played doctor. The king's evil, a deadly skin disease. The cure? A royal touch? King Henry IV healed 1,500 people, but how many survived? Nobody knows. Number 3. Survival, famine, plague, and drinking themselves silly. Between 1315–1317, rain drowned Europe, crops died. People ate rats, then each other. 10% of Europe starved. And when the Black Plague hit, half the population dropped dead. Your odds? 50-50. No wonder they drank beer all day. Water? Too dangerous. Beer for breakfast? Normal. But hangovers? They had those too. Number 4. Superstitions, zombies, vampires, and cat massacres. Medieval folks believed corpses could come back as zombies or vampires. Monks swore a dead priest haunted their abbey, groaning for weeks. And black cats? Pope Gregory IX said witches kissed their butts. Thousands of cats were killed, which let rats spread the plague. Oops, even tombs were creepy. Rich folks built statues of themselves rotting. Why? To remind everyone. You'll end up like this. Number 5. Power and punishment, kings, usurpers, and the Iron Chair. King Edward IV died in 1483, leaving 2 sons. His brother Richard locked them in the Tower of London. They vanished. Richard stole the crown, and became history's most famous usurper. If you broke the law, you might meet the Iron Chair. Spikes stabbed your skin, and you stayed alive until they pulled you off. Worse than it sounds? Yes. Number 6. Death and decay, tombs that showed rotting corpses. Ever wanted your tomb to show you rotting? Medieval rich folks did. They built transy tombs, statues of themselves as skeletons or half-eaten by worms. Why? To say, "Look at me now. Death comes for us all." Absolutely? And how did they know someone was dead? They'd twist their fingers, or bite their toes. Even heroes like Charlemagne did it. Imagine waking up to that. Number 7. Torture gets weirder, choke pears and hungry rats. Meet the choke pear. A metal fruit shoved into mouths, or worse. Torturers cranked it open to rip people apart. And rats? They weren't just pests. Torturers trapped them on victims' bellies with hot metal. The rats would chew through flesh to escape. Imagine the screams in the iron chair. Sit on spikes, bleed slowly, but stay alive. Medieval torture wasn't just cruel. It was creatively cruel. Number 8. Crusades gone wrong, killing Christians for being wrong. The Crusades weren't just about fighting Muslims. In 1209, Crusaders attacked Christians in France for praying wrong. Thousands were burned or hanged. Even priests weren't safe. The Pope said it was holy. The victims? They called it hell. But not all punishments were bloody. Some criminals wore scary masks or signs saying, "Thief, forever." Embarrassing? Yes. Better than rats? Definitely. Number 9. The dancing plague, when people danced to death. In 1374, something bizarre hit Europe. People danced, non-stop for days. They couldn't control it. Some danced until their hearts exploded. Was it poison? Mass hysteria? Nobody knows. But imagine your grandma jigging herself to death, and you couldn't stop her. Number 10. Grave robbing popes and magical corpses. Pope Stephen VI hated his predecessor so much, he dug up his corpse. Put it on trial, chopped off its fingers, threw it in a river. Why? Grudges don't die, I guess. And corpses? People thought they could magically bleed to accuse killers. They'd drag murderers to graves, and wait for blood. Spoiler. It never worked. Number 11. Gross birth control and cat massacres. Want to avoid babies? Try donkey poop necklaces, or weasel balls. Medieval folks did. They also thought conceiving during your period was safe. Pope Gregory IX said black cats were Satan's pets. Thousands were killed, which let rats spread the plague. Smart move, huh? And no, they didn't dump poop out windows. They used pits or rivers. But swimming? Still risky. Number 12. Mental health. Drill a hole in your head. Depressed? Anxious? Medieval cure. Let's drill a hole in your skull to let the demons out. They called it trepanning. No anesthesia, just crunch. And if that didn't work, they'd whip you for being sinful. Mental health, not their strong suit. Number 13. Saints who licked lepers and drank scabs. Meet the saints who thought healing meant licking. Saint Mary Magdalene sucked maggots from wounds. Saint Angela drank bathwater from a leper's feet and ate his scabs. Holy? Maybe. Disgusting? Absolutely. Number 14. Bad crops. The Great Famine. 1315-1317. Imagine rain that never stops for years. Crops drowned. Animals died. People ate rats, then each other. 10% of Europe starved. The Great Famine was nature's cruelty, and just the start of medieval nightmares. Number 15. No joke. The Battle of Hastings juggler trick, 1066. The Battle of Hastings changed history, and it started with a juggler. The Normans tricked the Saxons with a circus act. When the juggler threw a spear, chaos. The Saxons lost their advantage, and England. Number 16. Uncle Scar IRL. Richard III's Missing Princes, 1483. King Edward IV died, leaving 2 sons. Their uncle Richard locked them in the tower. They vanished. Richard stole the throne. History calls him usurper. But where did the princes go? Nobody knows. Number 17. Taking the blame. England expels Jews, 1290. Medieval Europe blamed Jews for everything. Plagues? Their fault. Wars? In 1290, King Edward I kicked all Jews out of England. They couldn't return for 400 years. Prejudice, with a royal seal. Number 18. Women's work. Nicola de la Haye, Castle Defender, 1216. Medieval women weren't just damsels. Meet Nicola de la Haye, widowed, over 60. She defended Lincoln Castle twice from sieges. King John begged her to keep ruling. Who says women can't lead wars? Number 19. A ragtag group of misfits. Edward III's prisoner army, 1346. How do you beat France's best knights? Hire criminals. King Edward III emptied prisons for his army. These thugs destroyed French nobles at Crécy. Sometimes, bad guys make good soldiers. Number 20. Don't like those odds. Kings who met grisly end. Being king was deadly. Richard Lionheart, killed by a chef. King John, explosive diarrhea. Edward II, murdered with a red-hot poker. Power? It came with a price. Number 21. What's that smell? London's rotting meat ban, 1371. Medieval cities stank. Rotting meat piled up. King Edward III banned slaughterhouses in London, because the smell was unbearable. But where did the guts go? Into the river. Drinking water? Still risky. Number 22. Where do people go? Partying in cemeteries. Need fun? Go to the cemetery. Markets, plays, even tax-free shopping happened among graves. People partied with skeletons as neighbors. Maybe, but business boomed. Number 23. No kidding. The brutal life of medieval children. Half of medieval kids died before turning 7. Plagues, coughs, hunger, childhood was a nightmare. Parents lost babies like season. Survival? A miracle. Number 24. Medieval zombies. Corpses that wouldn't stay dead. Medieval folks believed corpses could come back. They called them revenants. Monks swore a dead priest haunted their abbey, groaning for weeks. Zombies? They thought it was real. Number 25. Dying with dignity. Slow deaths for saints. Quick death? That was for sinners. Good people died slowly, so they could confess. A fast death meant your soul was stuck forever. Painful? Yes. Holy? They thought so. Number 26. The Cadaver Synod, putting a corpse on trial, 897. Pope Stephen VI hated his predecessor so much, he dug up his corpse. Put it on trial. Chopped off its fingers. Threw it in a river. Grudges? They never died. Number 27. The magic touch, bleeding corpses. They thought corpses could magically bleed to accuse killers. They'd drag murderers to graves and wait. Did it work? Never. But they kept trying. Number 28. Definitely a turn off. Bizarre birth control. Want to avoid babies? Try donkey poop necklaces. Or weasel balls. Medieval folks did. They also thought conceiving during your period was safe. Pope Gregory IX said black cats were Satan's pets. Thousands were killed, which let rats spread the plague. Smart move, huh? Number 29. Throwing a myth out the window. Medieval sewage. Did they throw poop out windows? No. They used pits or rivers. But swimming? Still risky. Imagine bathing next to a toilet river. Yuck. Number 30. Out of your head, drilling skulls for demons. Feeling sad? Medieval cure. Let's drill a hole in your skull to let the demons out. No anesthesia. Just crunch. And if that didn't work, they'd whip you for being sinful. Mental health? Not their strong suit. Number 31. I ain't lying. Laundry day disasters. Fresh laundry? Medieval style. Wash clothes with ash and pee. That's right, urine. They thought it cleaned better. Historical considerations. Documentation is sparse due to the secretive nature of torture practices, but accounts from inquisitorial records and survivor testimonies reference these devices. Their use underscored the intersection of cruelty, power, and control in medieval judicial systems. These devices exemplify the brutal ingenuity of medieval torture, where physiological destruction and psychological terror were intertwined to enforce authority or extract information. The last secret: what history teaches us. So, what's the truth about the Middle Ages? It was a time of horror, but also hope. People survived plagues with slug soup. Women defended castles. They faced death by laughing at their own rotting statues. This era teaches us, humans adapt. Even in darkness, they found light. But remember, these secrets were buried for a reason. Would you want to live in a world of choke pears, zombie corpses, and scab-eating saints? Next time you complain about Wii 5, thank your lucky stars you're not on the iron chair. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your wildest medieval thoughts below. History's darkest secrets, now you know.